That sick feeling you had after eating way too much on Thanksgiving paled in comparison to how sick you feel right now after watching too much Jets football on Black Friday. I'm Glenn Norton with Jet Nation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log into JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. So I did a video a couple of weeks ago that I ended up scrapping. I thought, you know what? I don't do clickbait. I don't do hyperbole. I don't make outlandish statements to get people to watch. It's not my thing. Um, but I feel like things have gotten enough. They've gotten bad enough now that I can say what I said a couple of weeks ago and run it this time because it's true. And if you can't see it, I can't help you. But this Aaron Rodgers trade is inching toward becoming one of the worst trades this team has ever made, if not the worst. Because if the Jets don't win it next year with Rodgers, you're counting on him to what? Come back again the year after that at 40, 41, whatever he'll be, and think he'll get better. As we've discussed before, and I've said many times, show me show me the list of quarterbacks who play at a high level at that age after a ruptured Achilles. I mean, it doesn't happen. So Aaron Rodgers might come back this year, which he shouldn't. The Jets should be not making that an option. But after having already made their fans pay for their season tickets, they might want to give him a little sample and say, "Here you go. Here's Aaron for a couple of weeks," and you pray like crazy he doesn't get hurt and knocked out for next year. And I mean, he'd be done then for sure. But you gave up two twos. You used up 5 roster spots. You gave up tens of millions of dollars to his friends, the Aaron Rodgers Friends Charity Foundation. You gave Aaron Rodgers tens of millions of dollars. You're gonna be experiencing having cap hits for years to come. This year obviously is gone. It's a waste. Next year, if you don't win anything and he walks away, you don't have a quarterback. And the theory, the expectation is that they will not upset Rodgers and take a quarterback in this year's draft. So they've accommodated Rodgers by bringing in all of his friends who were bad. As I said, 5 roster spots, $25, $30 million. They've got Rodgers on the hook for the next 5, 6 years of cap hits. And then because of Rodgers, they may not have a quarterback to turn to when he does walk away. So if Rodgers leaves and even if it's after the year after that, I mean, we don't know. Nobody knows what you're getting. What does a 39-year-old coming off of a ruptured Achilles look like? A guy who can't move as well as he used to. That's a big part of his game. His ability to move within and outside the pocket. No, he's obviously not Lamar Jackson, but he will extend plays with his legs and make throws down the field. What if he can't extend plays the way he used to because of this ruptured Achilles? Is he still the same guy if teams don't have to game plan for that? That's one less weapon in his arsenal? And then say next year, he's not the same guy, which is a distinct possibility considering age and injury. So let's say Aaron Rodgers goes out and wins you 9 or 10 games. Maybe you make the playoffs, maybe you don't. But now maybe you're picking 19th instead of top 10. And maybe it's not as deep a quarterback class as this year. So the Jets could potentially pass on a quarterback this year with a premium pick in a deep class and then have Aaron Rodgers walk away. Then they've got no Aaron Rodgers. They've got nobody in the pipeline. And they're still paying Aaron Rodgers. And you've got Garrett Wilson. You've got Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall. That monster draft class. They're gonna be coming up on new deals. You want to tell me those 4 guys aren't going to make over $100 million combined? I think they are. Or they'll be in that neighborhood. They'll be living in that neighborhood. So I mean, I think I said to some folks before the season started, literally a week or 2 before the season, I was talking to somebody about this team. This is obviously before the Rodgers injury. I just had this nagging feeling, and I said, man, what if this all just blows up in their faces? Like, what if something goes wrong and this all blows up? And then I thought, you know what? That's as far as I'm going to take this conversation. I don't even want. And the person I was talking to said, don't say that. And I thought, you know what? You're right. We're not talking about that. Positive vibes only, right? We got Aaron Rodgers. Team's gonna roll through the season. First round bye. It's gonna be awesome. And now it's blown up to the point that this could be, and this isn't an anti Aaron Rodgers thing. Rodgers hasn't done anything wrong. And I would even argue, well, obviously the Jets have done some things wrong. They didn't address QB2, which as I've that's my new take on QB2. It was such a monumentally stupid decision that I refuse to allow myself to believe that didn't come from somewhere else in the organization. That somebody else didn't tell Joe Douglas, "Hey man, how much you paying Aaron Rodgers? Okay, and how much you paying Zach Wilson? Okay, that's enough. You go find a veteran quarterback who's going to sign for the minimum, and your spending cap on quarterback is done." That's It's not out of the beyond the realm of possibility, and it's the only logical reason I can come up with as to why Joe Douglas. Everyone's like, "Oh, he drafted Zach, so he literally spent months replacing him." But all of a sudden, he's no, I could never replace him. He's in the act of admitting, acknowledging, realizing this kid isn't going to win it for us. We got to replace him, but then keeps him, but not as a QB3. I said a billion times this offseason, get a quarterback and have Zach on the sideline all year. Get Gardner Minshew, get Teddy Bridgewater, get Baker Mayfield. I know he's a starter now, but there was a time where whether or not he was going to get a starting job there were some questions there. He wasn't a lock to get a starting job. So Baker Mayfield, somebody, and Joe Douglas didn't. He stood pat. So I'm not sure I blame him for that. Wide receiver, different story. You needed help there even before the Corey Davis retirement. So I'm not saying Joe Douglas's hands aren't dirty in all of this. What I'm saying is the QB2 thing, I don't believe it came from him. The wide receiver thing, I think it did come from him and he screwed that up. And the offensive line, as I've addressed a million times, I'm not getting mad because the O-line isn't 15 deep or 14 or however deep it would have to be to withstand all these injuries. You lost McGovern, who was your starting center. Tippmann was going to take that job eventually, but you had a starting type center in McGovern. You backed him up with Schweitzer. They both go down. You have Dwayne Brown at tackle, which was a gamble, but you knew internally if Dwayne Brown gets hurt, we're going to swing AVT out to tackle, and we'll be fine there. Schweitzer will take over at guard. Well, Brown gets hurt, Schweitzer gets hurt, AVT gets hurt. And that's how you find yourself starting Xavier Newman and Max Mitchell. You have guys starting on the O-line who you know, they should be guys who are filling in for a few snaps here and there. They're third, fourth string guys, and they're starting. And again, okay, show me an offensive line that's 12 deep. Show me an offensive line that has 12 starters on it, because that's what this team would need to withstand this right now. The number of injuries they've had has been absurd. 2 years in a row now. As I've said before, I've seen people in the past say draft O lineman with every pick. Now you know that's not happening, and it is kind of silly to even say it. However, I would take 3. I would draft 3 O linemen this year, and I would sign 2. But what you do early on in this draft, if you're the Jets, and as much as I would love Marvin Harrison at 3, if you end up with a 3rd pick, you need a quarterback, but you also need picks. Are you going to do what's best for the team long term, or are you going to once again try to accommodate Aaron Rodgers and let Aaron Rodgers dictate? No, we need a tackle. We need a I need a weapon to throw to, or I need a blocker up front. Don't draft my replacement yet. Draft him next year. Okay? And then Aaron plays and then he walks away. And you're picking in the 20s. I mean, hell, if you're picking at 32, nobody gives a damn. But you're picking in the 20s and you don't have anyone. You got nobody to throw the football. And you got your premium guys looking for new contracts, or no more than a year away from looking for new contracts. I'll tell you what, Garrett Wilson, I mean, you don't think him and Breece Hall are looking at each other thinking, get the hell out of here as soon as we can. Let's demand big money. So let's force a trade. Get the hell out of here. This isn't working. So again, call it hyperbolic if you will. Call it clickbait if you will. But if you can't see a path to this deal, crippling this team for the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, I can't help you. And look, I'm just looking at what's unfolding in front of us and thinking about best case scenario. Here's best case scenario. You hit on a lineman next year. You get get a starter, quality guy in free agency, quality guy in the draft. AVT stays healthy next year. You got 4 or 5 starters who are stout, which means Aaron Rodgers has time to throw and Brees Hall has time to throw. And this defense, I'm not dogging out this defense. This is an elite defense that's tired and fed up and giving up points in garbage time. I mean, no, when they give up 6, they know the game's over. That's it. 2 field goals, call it a day. Go home. So they're giving up points late in games because they're tired and fed up. If they had something to play for, if they knew there was a chance they could get a win, if these games were closer and the offense was competent, I have no doubt. Can this defense play with a lead? Like, that's what this group is built to do. Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald and Bryce Huff and John Franklin Myers, all these guys who can get to the quarterback, and teams don't have to throw. And when they do, it's just the quick stuff. Quick, short, think and dunk, work our way down the field. We don't need big chunk plays because we're going to win no matter what. So, this defense, people are down on them. I don't care. On paper, on film, when they think they've got a shot to win a damn game, elite group. Can they use some help? Yes. Absolutely. Tavondre Sweat or somebody like that in the middle of that D line to help beef up against the run, sure, certainly. But a lot, the fans who are saying draft all offense, that ain't happening. They need a DT, they need a safety. Jordan Whitehead beat again last night. It's just been it's ugly. It's ugly. But the Rodgers deal has the potential cost him this year, could cost him next year. If he plays, could cost him the following year. If he walks away, could cost him the next 2 or 3 years. And you got all that for what? 60, 70 million and a couple second rounders. And it got you potentially 2 to 5 years of more bad football. Only the Jets, folks. We will have more on this and everything else related to the New York Jets this Wednesday night. Myself, Chris Schubert, Dylan Terraman will be recapping this game. We'll be talking about the future. And I'll tell you what, a lot more draft talk, folks. A lot of draft talk coming up because that's basically where the focus should be shifting at this point and watching some of the kids play. Can Izzy Abanikanda get a touch?